So today we start with the second tool of data collection of the primary source of data collection. The first you've seen the interview, the second is the questionnaire. This is also a very vital and important source of data collection as far as primary data is to be collected. Primary data means for the first time the data is collected by the researcher. So here under this technique the researcher collects the data through question answers, but the question answers are printed on a particular paper. That is why it is called as questionnaire. So the respondent has to answer the questions which are placed in the questionnaire. The questionnaire may be written, printed, mailed, whatever. But the necessary criteria is that the questions have to be predetermined, already set by the researcher, and then that set of question paper is given to the respondent. Respondent means the person from whom you have to collect the data for the research, and the respondent himself has to fill in the questionnaire. The researcher does not. In interview technique he puts the question orally, it is a verbal technique, and he writes down or records, the researcher. But here the respondent writes the answers. The questions are prepared by the researcher. This is the questionnaire technique. This is necessarily in a written format. It is the criteria of a questionnaire that it has to be in a written format. It has to be written. Now, it is a written stimuli. Written by whom? Written by the respondent. If the researcher writes, it becomes something else. It does not become questionnaire. So, written by the respondent, okay? Always by the respondent. Now, a good questionnaire, first of all, the good questionnaire should be physically presentable. When the questionnaire is prepared, then the physical quality of the questionnaire should be presentable. The physical quality. That means use a good paper, good printing. The questionnaire should not be blur, half somewhere written, half not written, because it is the physical impression which will make the respondent write the data. So it should be in a very thin paper used, blur, blotch, the paper with blotches. Who will like to write on such a paper? Nobody. So it always has to be attractive, good quality paper, physical appearance. Not decorative, but it should be decent. And it is something to do with education, so it should have the balance of ethics, the paper. The next salient feature or how the questionnaire should be is that the questionnaire should not be too long. How will the respondent like to answer 100 questions in a questionnaire? He will get tired writing the answers. Questionnaire should never be too long. The questionnaire should be 15, at the most 15 to 20 questions. 100 questions, who is going to answer? Who has the time to answer 100 questions? So it should not be so long that the respondent gets tired and ultimately he writes any answer or he does not answer at all. So it should not be too lengthy, it should not be too short, it should be medium. We should assess who is going to write the answers, and according to it we have to frame the questions. But like now we have the university people sending us the questionnaires, the NAC sending us the questionnaires, then the questions are what? Even more than 500. But that is a specialized agency. So the college it is imperative upon the college university to fill up all the NAC questions. So that is exception. But here we have to see the nature of the respondents. So it should not be too long. Another very important characteristic of a questionnaire is that the questions which are formulated are very clear and specific. That means whatever meaning of the words the researcher is going to use in the questionnaire, it should be normal, reasonable, and objective meaning should be attributed, so that the respondent also attributes the same meaning. So the questions have to be very, very clearly and specific questions. We cannot have vague or ambiguous questions in the questionnaire, otherwise what will happen to the data? It will also be vague and ambiguous. So very clear and specific. The researcher should avoid the words with multiple meaning. No multiple meaning words should be used. Means the word should have objective and standard meaning. No multiple meaning. One word meaning 3-4 things. Then what will happen? Any meaning, any respondent will take in any sense and the data will not be appropriate. So it has to be very, very clear. It has to be very, very specific. Leading questions should be avoided. In a questionnaire, leading questions should be avoided. Leading questions avoided. What are leading questions? Leading questions are those questions wherein the researcher gives a clue as to what the answer would be. Or it is like that, the question is asked, but to update or to keep oneself in a proper respective manner, the respondent applies in the same manner in which the researcher wants. Like for example, if a question is put, do you visit the library every day? The obvious answer would be, who would say no? So even if he does not go to the library, the person would say, yes, your wrong data would be collected. Because everybody wants to keep up to the standard. So the researcher, when he is drafting the questions, he should see to it that the leading questions are absent, because then wrong, obviously everybody would like the same thing. Or another question, that is, in which temples, or do you give charity? Then who would say no? Everybody, to keep up with the standard, everybody would say yes. And the charity funds are so low and everybody is doing charity. What happens? There is a disparity between the data collected and the data existing. So to avoid that, leading questions should be avoided. Then what is the remedy available to the researcher? How to cull out the information? Then he can ask slant questions. Slant questions. He should ask slant questions. Slant questions means, here the researcher wants to get the information, but he gets it out through a different angle. That means what? He will not say, now he wants to know whether this person is doing charity or no. We cannot ask leading question, prohibited. So we use slant question, means what? Sir, in which temples do you give charity? Then what happens? The reader at the first mark is not applicable. He will write me if he doesn't give. So then you infer this knowledge that there is no charity given. So you have to put slant questions. This is a very important technique for the questionnaire, that he will put the slant question. Then the researcher should see that the respondent has to write in the minimum. One question, don't expect the respondent to write 1 page. So give him minimum writing. Then only he will fill the questionnaire. If he is expected to write pages and pages, nobody is going to answer the questionnaire. So see to it that minimum writing is allocated to the respondent. He should write in brief. That is why the space which is left for writing should be moderate. Neither too small nor too big. It should be moderate. The space for writing the answers by the respondent should be moderate. So 1 line question, 2 lines left. So he has to fit the answer in 2 lines. So it is moderate. It is not just 1 word. It is moderate. This helps in the interpretation or the analysis, which we will see later. The answers should be, the questions should be very well formulated. he has to give special attention to the questions and the hierarchy of the questions. The hierarchy of the questions and the content of the questions play a major role in getting back the information. So hierarchy means you have to go from the general to the particular, then general. So it should be that if we want the names, then the name of the particular respondent, otherwise there is no question of name, no names to be written. But then you should see that you open the questionnaire with something general, then particular, then general. Always. We should not thirst upon the respondent to write much personal or much value loaded answers or whatever he is giving the information. So these are the characteristics of a very good questionnaire. All questions should have equal weightage. All questions should have almost equal weightage. If not equal, almost equal weightage. Now what are the advantages of a questionnaire? Where can it be used? The first and the foremost utility of a questionnaire is that when the society is diverse and the nature of the population is diverse, then questionnaire is an effective tool of getting data for the researcher. So here, when the society is diverse and it is scattered, when the area, when the population, when the nucleus or the unit of the research is scattered, then it is advisable to use questionnaire because we can collect the data simultaneously from the scattered population. The second and the most advantage is that if it is not scattered, the universe is large. The universe on whom the research has to be conducted is so wide, it is so large, it is so big that humanly it is impossible for the researcher to conduct interviews. Then questionnaire is ideal technique to collect the information. Another aspect which is very important is that it saves time and energy. It saves time and energy of the researcher. It saves time and energy of the researcher. Not only this, cost wise also it is much less. Cost wise also it is much less. And no names are given. So anonymity. Questionnaires, they give us data because they are anonymous. In the interview technique, sometimes wrong or modified data is collected because one-to-one interview, we know whom we are taking the data from. But here, because no names are mentioned, there is a lot of chance that we get back the real, correct, accurate information and we get back the questionnaire. So we collect the data, or it is access to data collection because there are no names mentioned. Then questionnaires are more useful because the respondent is not pressed for immediate response. No immediate response. There is no immediate response. Means what? When the interview technique is employed, then it is must for the interviewee to give the response there only. But when the questionnaire is given, then it may happen that, if suppose it is mailed, then it may happen that the respondent at his convenient time may sit and answer the question. So he is not pressed to give the response immediately. It is according to his convenience. But if the questionnaires are circulated and time is given for answer, then the response has to be given then only, but he may think, he gets time to think. Even if the questions are circulated, he gets certain time to think and write the answers because half an hour, 1 hour is given for them to write the answer. But in interview technique, the interviewer cannot say, okay, I'll answer your question after 15 minutes. This cannot be done. So this is a very big advantage of the questionnaire, that it is time saving, money saving, and we get back the data. Actually we get back the data through the questionnaire. It is very good. So it is said that questionnaires are good tool of collection of data because they are quantitative. When we want the data in quantity, then no other primary sources of data collection are useful except questionnaire. This is the best part of the questionnaire, that they can get back the data. Now what are the lacunas in a questionnaire? The first part of it is that the percentage of returning the questionnaires is a little less. When 100 interviews are collected, then it happens that almost 90 interviews are successful in getting the responses. So the percentage of collection of data is higher in interview as compared to the questionnaire. The second disadvantage is this, that the respondent is left on his own. There is no help or aid for him to interpret, help or aid. So if the questionnaires first prerequisite is that only the people who can read and write can be distributed the questionnaire. Otherwise there is no, questionnaire will not at all be useful. But even in such a case, there is no help to the respondent to interpret the question. There is no aid to interpret the question. This is a big drawback of the questionnaire. In interview what happens? If he doesn't understand, we can help him, we can explain the question again, we can ask the same question in a different style, different manner, different phase, different time, and we can get back the information. But this is not available over here. That is why it is said that in a questionnaire technique there is no aid to the respondent, but the researcher's work is less, because in interview technique it is must that the assistants are expert, because expert, creativity and skillness are mandatory for interview technique. This may be lacking over here, because 100 questionnaires given to a particular assistant, he only has to distribute, collect. So what is the expertise needed over there? In this manner it is an advantage of the questionnaire technique, that there is no demanding skill required to the particular questionnaire. Personal knowledge, we cannot get personal confidential knowledge through questionnaire technique. Only general knowledge, only the knowledge which is generally available, only that information can be sought. Otherwise personal, because it is a characteristic in the questionnaire, we cannot ask personal questions. Neither we can ask anything which is related to any party or political influence, because ethical neutrality is must. As we have stated earlier, whichever technique and whichever step of research design is made or followed, ethical neutrality is must in all the steps. So the researcher has to abide by ethical neutrality, and he cannot make any personal comments or personal names cannot be used in a questionnaire technique. Otherwise the respondents are reluctant to answer. So when the information is personal, then questionnaire doesn't help a lot. It is only the interview technique is going to help as far as the questionnaire technique is concerned. Now analysis we do after we do the observations. Observation technique. Now what is the observation technique? Observation technique is also useful in law. Observation technique is also useful in law, in every field of research. In fact, observation is such a process, it is continuous. When the eyes are open, when the ears are open, continuously the person is observing. The only difference is this, that he is not intentionally observing. So many times we see a particular aspect but still we don't see it, because we cannot recollect it. or we cannot draw the inferences. So it is a lost process. But here the technique is specifically for intentionally observing. The observation has to be done with a particular intention. So here it is done with intention. The observation has to be done with intention. That intention has to be focused. It has to be focused. Intention has to be focused. Focused, it should be related. It should be focused to what? To the objectives, problem and hypothesis. Observation, I told you, it is a continuous process. So every time a person is observing, but that is it is of no use, because it has to be directed. It has to be focused. Focused to what? That means you should observe in relation to the objectives or the hypothesis or the problem. Only through these three phases or these three steps will make our observation fruitful, if it is observed in that manner or that particular angle. This is extremely important, because otherwise then the purpose of observation is lost. Now, when we come to observation, observation may be of two types. One is the structured and the other is the non-structured. Whether the observation is structured or whether it is non-structured, still the researcher should first make an attempt to understand that what he is going to observe, how he is going to observe, when he is going to observe. He has to make these certain specific notification, irrespective of it is structured or non-structured. But if it is structured, then more detailed questions are being formulated, like he has to observe whom, how much time, and what are the aspects that are there for observation. His behavior, the language which he uses, or the actions, or the gestures, or the facial expression, or whatever his dress code or whatever. These are the aspects that he has to focus upon in structure. In unstructured, he only has to know whom he has to observe, what he has to observe, and how he has to observe. That's all. The rest is left for the observer, for the researcher to observe, and he has to make notifications of the observation. Now, that is why I switched on to observation. Now, this is same over here in the questionnaire, structured and unstructured. It is same in the interview technique, structured and unstructured. Now, what is in the questionnaire, structured and unstructured? Structured means the questionnaire is structured. Every questionnaire will be of the same type, and every questionnaire will contain the same questions, and every questionnaire will have the same order of the questions. So, it is not that every time a new questionnaire is formulated. Sometimes the questions are changed depending upon the times and circumstances, then it becomes unstructured questionnaire. Just like the interview technique. Interview technique is also structured and non-structured. So, in a structured interview, it happens that the questions are written first, what he is going to ask. It is called as the interview schedule. So, the researcher has got the schedule in front of him, and he will ask the questions according to the schedule. Here also, the questionnaire, there may be a schedule. The difference between questionnaire schedule and questionnaire is this, that in a questionnaire, the questionnaire is given to the respondents to fill in. And in a schedule, questionnaire schedule, the researcher puts the question and writes the answers in the schedule. This is the difference in questionnaire schedule. But then this is similar like interview, because he can aid, he can help, he can interpret. It happens.
And what happens in unstructured questionnaires?
Unstructured questionnaire is the questions which are modified, which are on the spot, which are prepared and circulated. Unstructured, the characteristic of unstructured questionnaire is such that all the questions need not be in the same format or in the same sequence.
Okay.
but questions are there. Definite, precise, clear questions are present, but maybe the order may change, or on the spot if he feels that now in this phase this question should be removed and another question should be placed, it becomes unstructured questionnaire. Just like observation, he has got all the points written for structured observation. Unstructured, he has to observe everything, whatever is there, and he has to record. Another type of observation is participant and non-participant. Participant and non-participant. Participant observation means the researcher, whatever activity he wants to observe, the researcher he participates in the activity of observation. The researcher participates in the activity of observation. That is called as participant observation. And non-participant means he is placed somewhere else and the activity takes place and he observes the activity as an activity on its own. He is not part of that activity. In participant observation, he is observing also and he is taking part in the activity also. Now the advantage of participant observation is this, that the insight of observation is more because he is actually taking part in the activity. So he comes to know about the units of that activity more because he is, and they are not aware that they are being observed and studied upon. So they give their natural response and observation is accurate. So participant observation is this. Non-participant is that there are two types again. One, it may be that the units or the population does not know that they are being observed, or they may know. If they know, then the activity is restricted sometimes. But if it is not known, then there is no bar, the activity is carried on in its usual manner and he observes only as an activity. He does not get that much insight as much as participant observation we get through participant observation. But the problem over here is in participant observation, the researcher may get so involved in the activity that there are too many things for him to observe and act. Then the recording becomes difficult. Then the recording becomes, or he cannot immediately recall everything and record. This is the problem. But here he is in the non-participant observation is only observing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 he can just write the observations. It is to balance both. Now observation is unique in this sense that when the activity, circumstance or event actually takes place, the data is collected at that time exactly. This is the unique quality of observation. That is, when the activity or circumstance or event actually takes place, observation is done or data is collected through observation at that moment exactly. In questionnaire and in interview this doesn't happen. It is always that after the activity the data is collected in both the other techniques. This is observation. Observation technique, it is used in law also for many activities of research, that is the behavior of the prisoners or juvenile delinquency or the children or some personal behavior of some co-workers. It may happen that this technique is used. It is not that it is not used. Now let us compare all the three techniques. The comparison of interview, questionnaire, observation. In interview and questionnaire, as I said, they are the tools of data collection when the activity or the event has taken place. So it is always done in the activity has taken place and we collect the data in retrospection. Go back to the situation and tell us what has happened. So it is done in retrospection. Interview technique is best suited when personal, intimate, confidential information has to be culled out. There, neither questionnaire nor observation helps. So it is the unique quality of interview technique that we get the information when it is very personal or it is very confidential. However, the interview technique doesn't help when the universe is large. There, if it is large, the researcher has got no other alternative but to go through questionnaire, because the uniqueness of questionnaire is that the researcher is able to collect the data from a large population at one time. He can circulate, he can email, he can circulate the data, the questionnaire to a very large group and collect the data at one time. This is absent in the interview technique. How many interviews can take place at one single time, even if he employs his assistants? It is difficult. Same is with the observation. But observation technique, it has got its unique quality because the researcher is collecting the data as and when the things are actually happening. And so they are said that they are more accurate and correct rather than relying on particular memory. This is for the observation technique. We have structured interview when the scheduled is present. So he can just take the schedule and ask the questions, but aid is there. Your aid, so many a times the question is not understood, the question is misunderstood, then the data is wrong. So when the scope is there for not understanding, interview technique is better. That is why first criteria, the questions have to be very, very specific, very, very clear. Another advantage of questionnaire is this, that to make it more clear, what can be done is we can go in for close-ended questions. Close-ended questions means you just give options 1 or 2, yes or no. Then the definiteness, specificness is more rather than open-ended. When there is open-endedness, we leave the option to the respondent. Write any option which you want, which you feel. But this also gives flexibility to the respondent. Little, because flexibility wise, interview has got highest percentage of flexibility. Flexibility is there with the interviewer, with the researcher. Which question to put, how to put, when to put. The same question again and again he can ask with different angles, with different dimensions. So there is a lot of flexibility available in the interview technique, which is not over here, but a little amount of flexibility may be available when the questions are open-ended. That means one question, 2 lines left for answer. One question, 2 lines left for answer. And here there is no question of flexibility because the participants may not know that they are being observed. So he has to observe everything and write everything. This is as far as data collection. Now what happens after the data is collected by these primary techniques? Now let us see how to analyze or interpret the data. The best data is collected by interview technique, but interview technique should be coupled with observation. It is not a deliberate movement, it is automatic, because when the researcher is asking the question, he is also observing the person who is giving the answer, how he is giving, where is the pause, where he is trying to evade, what is the ambience, what are the clothes, what are the gestures, what is the mood, how sensitive he is. It goes hand in hand. Now when the interpretation is concerned, as far as the interview, questionnaire and observation technique, when there are interviews, when there are whatever, 10 interviews or 50 interviews, whatever. Now how many questions have been asked? Each interview has to be studied afterwards by the researcher. So what if he has given a schedule, or if he has given a guideline or an idea of what? of the objective, of the problem, and of the hypothesis for every interview, for every questionnaire and for the observation. This is must. Now keeping this in mind, the analysis has to be done. So suppose we take one interview, the first interview. Now how many questions he has put? Say he has put 10 questions, 50 interviews, and each interview 10 questions. Now he has to first find out whether all 50 questions, all 50 interviews, 10 questions have been put forward. He has to first assess. So how many interviews out of the 50 the researcher is able to ask 10 questions? So let's round about 45. Then he has to study the 5 later. But in these 45, suppose he has, the researcher has put forward. Now in this 45, how many questions the interviewee has answered? So it is more or less the same. More or less the same, because something or the other, or even I don't know, I don't want to answer. These answers are also answers. So generally it would be the same. Now we have to identify the question. That means we have to make criteria. We have to make 10 criteria of each question, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And every interview we have to put in this criteria. The first interview, for the first question, this is the whatever is the answer, so you put it over here. Second, whatever is the answer, put it in the chart. Whatever is the answer of the respondent. Like that we have to do for all the 45 answers. Then read each answer. However, there is a caution. All the answers should be comprehensively read, because what happens is somewhere it is no and somewhere it is yes, somewhere it is I don't know. So then we have to have a comprehensive view for all the answers. So you put the chart, and now we open the chart again, saying that whatever it is, suppose the question is regarding what do you feel about the present elections? So whatever answer he has given, no I don't like, no I like, it is a good method, it is constitutional mandate. So put whatever, so like, then all the 45, like means we will not get the exact word like. We have to infer whether the interview has liked, disliked, not responded. From where we will infer? We will infer by studying the answer. By studying the answer. Suppose we cannot get the answer whether he's like, put that question or that interview in a different jargon for now. Go to the second question. Again analyze. Yes, no, that is positive, negative, no response. Suppose you don't get an answer, put it in another jargon, not the same, another jargon. Now the next, we don't know like, put it in this jargon. We don't know the second question, put in this. The third, make another jargon. Now doing this, we know how many people are giving us answers for liking the election, not liking the election, no response. This we get. Then again read the questions and infer why they are, because they will give some reasons. Waste of time, I don't vote because waste of time, it is holiday time, whatever it is. But the interviewer, the researcher has to read and try to understand the interviewer's mind through the answer. Words, just like interpretation of statutes, words, the other words in the interview will help him to get a clue whether it is positive or negative. Likewise, he has to make the chart. Then he has to see what is the ratio, which charts are more for likes, which are less for like, and what are the reasons, and then come to the conclusion that because of these reasons, some people don't vote in elections.
So there only we have to give solution also.
Yes, in the conclusion. But this is a difficult task. He has to spend a lot of time wise, collection of data, less time is involved. But reading and reading again the answers and coming really to a conclusion, that is whether it is yes, whether it is no, this takes a lot of time, because he has to read again the answers, because how the answers are given we don't know. But if the researcher has yes, no, means he has listened to the blah 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 of the interview and just written one word, he is in favor of election, yes, he likes election, yes, he has voted, then it becomes easy. But if he has written 2-3 lines or a paragraph, or he has recorded the whole thing, the whole record has to be heard again and again. So it is that when he is trying to analyze, it becomes a little more difficult for the researcher. But every time he takes a question, he has to see, he has to cut out all that blah blah, whatever he has recorded, he has to cut it out if it is not related to this. He has to take the information which is only and only related to the objective, problem and hypothesis. That is all. So from the entire 1 hour discussion, it is only 2 minutes, which is important. It may happen that way. At that level only he has to discard that information. He should not carry it forward, because then it will be problem for him to analyze and conclude. So he has to discard it at that time itself. Now for questionnaire. Questionnaire, here the analysis technique is more easy, it is more simplified as compared to the questionnaire, because already the questions are formulated. So he only has to make the jargons which are saying yes, which are saying no, which are not saying, giving any response. So put all the questionnaires which are saying yes for the first type. Then second classification, again make all the questionnaires together and have another classification, come to the conclusion. Whatever, suppose the questionnaire is relating to dowry. How many people are in favor of giving dowry and taking dowry? So if they are in favor, so 65% are in favor, 35% are not in favor. Interpretation is much easy over here. It is much easy over here. Here 65% in favor, that means most of the society is in favor of taking and giving dowry. Now we have to point out why. And after pointing out the reason why it is, why the people are in favor of giving and taking dowry, we have to give how to eliminate this problem. Solution has to be given. Then the research is complete. The difference between interview and questionnaire is this, that in interview technique, much time is not devoted to how to ask the questions. Questions are asked 1, 2, 3, 50. Much time is needed to interpret and analyze the other part of the interview. In questionnaire, it is vice versa. Much time is required to formulate the question pertaining to the objective, problem and hypotheses, and less time is involved in analyzing, because it is more systematic. It is more systematic because many a times only closed-ended questions are there. So just see and classify, see and classify. But either in the interview or in the questionnaire, one thing has to be remembered by the researcher is this, that whatever criteria he is going to use for classification, this classification, that criteria should be absolutely in consonance with the objective. So the objective is to find out the causes of failure of dowry, and the classification is which hero you like. It makes sense? No nexus. Education? Yes. What is his profession? Yes. Because then we can come that out of 65, so many are educated, so many are from this profession. Yes. So there has to be a nexus between the criteria and objectives or problem or hypothesis. This is must. If the wrong criteria is used, the whole collection of data is gone. No use. The third aspect, observation. Over here everything is difficult because the event or the circumstance is just observed. So now what happens is that he has to make the notes of observation. he has to make the notes 1, 2, 3, how many, to whom, when, what was the activity, how many participated, how many were happy, how many were not participating, how many were sad. All this he has to make notes. That means first he has to make notes and then he has to classify that particular data which he is getting through the notes, because when he is observing, the observations are just made. Whatever the researcher feels like making notes of, it is made. Now he has to bifurcate. He has to bifurcate according to the objectives. That is, what was the activity which was observed, who participated in the activity, how many people were there, how were they happy in that activity, they were not happy, what they were saying compelled, or they wanted to enjoy that activity. This we know from their faces, from their body language. So he has to say that yes, 5 people were very happy, 2 people were not because they did not participate. After making the notes, he has to classify that information. So it is a big task. It is not so easy. But observation technique can be coupled with the interview technique, and then lots of information the researcher can get. But one caution over here in the interview technique is that sometimes it may be biased. There is less scope for bias in the questionnaire. Here it is biased in the sense that the interviewer may say something, but the researcher has already made up his mind that he is of this opinion. Then all the answers which are collecting will be biased. So heavy duty lies upon the researcher to have neutral attitude. He has to not make any opinion, because how human mind is, when the questions are put, immediately we make conclusions. He is like that, he is having this opinion. No, that he should avoid at any cost. That is why skill or expertise is at the highest demand in the interview technique. Second, skill and creativity is needed in the observation technique. Skill is needed on the part of the researcher for questionnaire to formulate the questions. But each technique has got its own merit and own demerit, and each technique should be made available or employed and for a particular research depending upon the nature of the research. So these are the techniques of data collection as far as the primary sources of data are collected. Again I will repeat, primary sources of data are employed when the nature of the research is empirical. However, the research is not complete. Before employing the primary sources of data, it is must, it is compulsory, it is obligatory, it is mandatory for the researcher to first employ the secondary source of data. Before knowing whether the Dowry Act has been failed or it is a success, he should know what the Dowry Act is. So secondary tools of data, books should be read first. So empirical research, it presupposes that the researcher has already done a doctrinal research and then empirical. So it is always said that empirical research is the extension of doctrinal research, wherein primary sources of data are formulated.